have trouble. There, that's a good sad. Hi there, it's Christy with the Chirp YouTube channel. Welcome to this video. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday season. I took a couple weeks off so that I could space out and not think about video editing, and it was fine. It was a weird holiday. You probably had the same experience. I didn't really get to spend time with anybody except my dear husband and our sweet cats, which of course is great, but I didn't get to teach any kids about Jesus, and that is what I normally do on Christmas Eve, so that was a little disappointing, and I really would have loved to spend time with our families, and we didn't get to do that either, so it was a little bit sad. Hopefully things are looking up. We shall see. Today I would like to discuss with you autism and how to help kids recognize facial expressions. What do facial expressions mean? How can you tell how somebody is feeling based on their faces? This is really hard. In fact, it's one of the diagnostic criteria of an autism spectrum disorder, which is why I'm talking about it, because I am doing a series on autism and how we can work on some of the diagnostic criteria in the diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder. Now, I want to say again, though you have probably heard me say it before, that if you suspect an autism spectrum disorder in your child, then please get professionals on your team working with you. It's not very easy to work on all these things as one person. We really do need to be a team of people around this child, coming from lots of different angles and working on lots of different things all at the same time. As one singular person, it's really difficult to do that. So please get yourself some professionals. The first one you should look at, of course, is a speech-language pathologist, because we are the ones who work on engagement. And autism is primarily an issue of engagement. Faulty engagement, lack of engagement. We need to work on engagement. You also should check with your school district, especially if you're in the United States, because they are required to assist you and provide whatever help that your child might need there too. The more resources we have, the more likely it is that your child will be able to learn all these skills that perhaps she had not learned yet and should be learning. Let's talk about facial expressions and emotion. The first thing you want to do is that you want to be talking a lot about emotions with your kids. In fact, all kids, not just kids with autism spectrum disorders. Kids have difficulty reading emotion on other people's faces. They have difficulty reading adult faces at all, and of course other kids' faces. As I was researching for this video, I discovered that up until age 11, that's so late, I didn't expect this at all, that kids have difficulty reading adult faces. They didn't test kids against other kids because kids don't express their emotions very clearly in their faces either, but they tested adults. They tested kids reading adult faces. And they found that up until age 11, kids have a lot of difficulty with this. So don't assume that your kids know what your face means, or know what other people's faces mean, or even know what their own faces mean. We need to talk about it a lot. The first thing we want to start with is happy. That's the easiest one. Kids should be able to recognize what happy looks like. So when you see, what I mean by talk about emotions is not by just saying, I feel happy, you feel happy. We need to be very detailed about what happy looks like. How does a happy face look? We can draw happy faces. A happy face has a mouth that turns up at the corners. A happy face gets kind of little squinty eyes, especially if you're me. Miss Christy gets very squinty eyes when she smiles big, because that's the kind of face she has. Everybody gets a little bit squinty. Mostly Mostly happy has to do with the mouth, and it's pretty easy to tell because happy's the only one pretty much that has that kind of mouth. All the other mouths have trouble. There, that's a good sad. So, talk about happy first. The ones we really kind of want to work on as we progress are sad and scared, because those are the ones that kids have the most difficulty differentiating from each other. So the way that we want to teach these is by talking about specific things that happen to the face when certain emotions are being expressed. With anger, our eyebrows typically go down. They typically get closer together. We get little wrinkles here. Our eyes kind of get straight. I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder because I don't even know exactly. Usually our mouth will bunch up, or we'll clench our teeth if we're really angry. And not only do we want to talk about what happens to the face, we also want to talk about some things that come along with what happens to the face, such as tone of voice. Usually if I'm sad, my voice might get a little more slow. It might not sound so happy. If I'm angry, it's gonna sound like that. It's gonna sound like I'm clenching my teeth. Talk through some of these things. You might want to think about it in advance. There are a lot of books that can help you teach kids about emotions, but really, it's not that hard to think through. Maybe you have a week where you focus on a particular emotion. Happy should be first, and your game is that every book you read, you look for happy faces, and then you talk about what makes that face a happy face, and you talk about the situation that character finds himself in that means he might be happy. If a child gets a new puppy and has this face, then you could assume that that child is happy because the situation matches happy and the face matches happy. And those things together are very important. You can't hear tone of voice or pitch in a book. You can't really see posture. Sometimes shoulders up can mean scared or angry. It can mean lots of different things sometimes for shoulders to be up, and you can see some of that in books if they're really purposeful about expressing that, but sometimes you can't tell those things from books. We can only tell those things in real life. So we also need to be looking in real life at ourselves, at the other people in the family, to tell what facial expressions are communicating. If you notice that your own jaw is clenched, that you have a frown between your eyebrows, and you're making you're crinkling up your nose a little bit, then maybe you're angry, maybe you're frustrated, maybe you've been working really hard at something financial related and you just can't figure it out and you're feeling really annoyed. I know this is not the time when you're going to want to do this, but call your kid in and say, I just noticed the emotion that we're looking for this week. It's me. Look at my face. I got it all crumpled up. My mouth is smushed together. I'm pushing my teeth together really hard like I'm biting on something. I feel frustrated and angry. These are really good learning experiences for kids. It's really great for kids to be able to learn in context, and then you can talk about what you're going to do to help yourself work out of it. Let's go for a walk. It's a little bit chilly outside, but I need to get away from the computer for a minute. And that will help me calm down, and then I won't have that frowny face. You want to point out these things in your own kids also. If you see your child making this face, you see frowny lines, you see mouth that turns down at the edges, you might see eyes that have tears glistening in them, you might see a sag, then you can say, oh, I noticed something in you. I see your mouth is down, your eyebrows are looking squished, your eyes are a little shiny, like they might have tears in them, I think you're sad. Let's talk about that. Why do you think you might be feeling sad? These seem so simple, but I'm here to tell you that I needed to learn this stuff when I was a kid. I was not good at learning at feeling my own emotions or at expressing my own emotions. I may have mentioned this before on this channel, but I was double promoted from kindergarten into second grade. So I went from half-day kindergarten to full-day second grade without anything in between. Totally new group of kids, totally new everything, and was given really no assistance in that transition, except for that I had extra homework because for some reason the teacher they placed me with decided I needed to also do all of the stuff from first grade that I hadn't done. This is a very personal story. I hope it doesn't bother you. I was very stressed, but I was, I guess 7 years old. I did not know what stress felt like. I did not know what fear felt like. I didn't know how to get help or how to calm myself down. I'm still pretty bad at self-regulation, which is keeping myself calm. I think most of us have trouble with that. And I went to the nurse a lot with a stomachache or a headache because I believe now that that was my interpretation of what I was feeling was that it was sick. But what it actually was something else. Fear and worry felt like sick to me because I didn't have other words for it. If I had been taught when I'm afraid, my stomach might feel upset. When new things happen, sometimes I might feel worried. That's okay. It's okay to feel worried. I can talk about those feelings. That didn't really happen in my family so much, and it didn't happen at school either. So I didn't know how to deal with any of these feelings. I turned out to be an adult who does not have an autism spectrum disorder. And if this was a big issue for me, you can imagine how much bigger of an issue it is for a child who already has difficulty with social interactions and with self-knowledge, being able to interpret signals from her own body. That's why we need to work extra hard at this, especially with this population of kids. With all kids, actually, of course. I wish I had someone in my life who did this with me. But I have it now, and it's me. There's a therapeutic term called reparenting, and that's what I'm doing with myself now. I am teaching myself those skills that I wish I had learned. You can do that for yourself, and you can be the parent that you needed for your kid. You can be the teacher that you needed or the therapist that you needed to help those kids in your life now. There also are a bunch of interesting emotion face cards and different games that can be really good for teaching what different emotions mean. And honestly, I still have trouble with some of those. I still get some of them wrong, so I should probably play them more often. I usually assume most people are angry, even if that's not the emotion. I don't know, maybe I'm weird that way. So there are decks of cards that have different emotions on lots of different faces. And you can play many different games with these cards. In fact, I should probably do a separate video about some of the different games that you can play with those emotion cards. But in case you want to get started early, I'll put links to card decks below and to some of those games that you can play with those decks. I will see you next time. I'm going to end this video here, but please leave me comments down below. Leave me questions. Leave me compliments if you feel like it. And I hope that your week is a fabulous one. Don't forget to subscribe. Cling the bell if you want to. It might help someone else find these videos, and that I think is a good thing because we're all working towards the same goal, helping kids feel more welcome in this world. I think that's a good thing. I hope you have a great week. See you next time. Bye.